What keeps people poor? What keeps a lot of people stuck in poverty? Most answers might be lack of earning opportunities, lack of education, even corruption in the government. While these are all valid reasons, do you know that it's the mindset that's really trapping a lot of people in poverty? We hold a lot of money beliefs, which are usually myths, mga maling paniniwala. And if you are parents, these myths can prevent you from raising your children to have high FQ. This is Rose Fres Fausto, FQ Mom, for In Life Shiro's program. In this second episode of our FQ video series, we will talk about the 7 most common money myths that we must break in order to raise our children and ourselves to have high FQ. Myth number 1, parents don't know much about money, cannot teach their children about FQ. You know, there's a common concern among parents and they usually say, naku, wala akong alam sa pera, paano ko naman tuturuan yung mga anak ko tungkol sa pera? But the truth is, whether you have a high FQ or not, you are your children's first FQ teachers. In fact, even if you don't deliberately teach them about money, they are already picking your ways with money. Alam mo naman yung kasabihan, di ba? Values are better caught than taught. And when it comes to FQ, it is really a value system more than the knowledge part. So, ready or not, buckle up and be your children's first FQ teachers. In the next episodes, we will be talking to you about how you can improve your own FQ while you teach it to your children. Myth number 2, one has to be a math genius in order to have a high FQ. Wrong! And that's good news because you know that math geniuses comprise a very minuscule percentage of the population. I'm not a math genius myself. So, on the other hand, even if you're a math genius, it's no guarantee that you can have a high FQ. All the math you need are just the 4 basic operations: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And if you were traumatized during your math subjects back in the day, don't worry, you still have your calculator in your phone with you so you can compute. Myth number 3. Raising our children to have a high FQ is more difficult among the poor. We can always look at things as either an obstacle or an opportunity. In this case, if your family is poor, you can look at it as an opportunity, a built-in opportunity for you to teach your children to be frugal. But be careful, don't make your children feel, not too much dramatics on the being dukha. Be careful that you don't make your children feel that your family is a victim. You know what you can do is you give them age-appropriate information about your present financial condition and then unite your family, make them feel that this is just a temporary condition, unite them so that you will all aspire to have a better financial condition. Myth number 4, raising children to have a high FQ is more difficult among the rich. Just as the previous one, you can take this either as an obstacle or an opportunity. Your opportunity now is to teach your children the money-making skills that you already have. So what is your challenge? It is now how to teach them to be frugal because you can now easily give in to the whims that they would ask from you. Check out yourself. Do you give your children, do you buy your children the same signature brands that you use? How much allowance do you give to them? Is it at par with that of a branch manager? Here's a tip. Make them bring baon and give allowance on the low side. Do your kids travel business class? Here's another tip from the 7th generation descendant of the country's oldest business house whose family is always listed in the Forbes richest. This is what he said. He said that he and his siblings used to travel on economy while his parents were on business class. And this went on until the early years of them joining their company. So he said he's doing this to his own children, and the only exception is that when only one child is traveling with them, in which case, he or she gets an upgrade. So, if this guy allows his children and he himself traveled on economy, why shouldn't your children be traveling on economy? Myth number 5, exposing our kids to money early will make them materialistic. Some parents delay teaching their children about money because they fear that once they teach their children about money, they will lose their innocence at baka daw magmukhang pera or too materialistic. I guess the concern comes from your own perception about money. If you believe that money is the root of all evil, then naturally, you would protect your children from this as long as you can. But you see, money is just money. It is neither good nor evil. It is in the way we relate with money that adds a dimension of good and evil. And we will be learning more about that in the next episodes. Myth number 6, having a lot of money is not good for the family. Sabi nila, pinag-aawayan daw ang mana. The truth is, pinag-aawayan ng mana, whether it's big or small. It's just that we make a bigger fuss kung malaking pera ang pinag-uusapan. And you know, this is the challenge among families when their children have grown as adults. When they were younger, they went to the same school, ate the same food, lived in the same house. But when your children are now adults, they may not necessarily be living in the same village, sending their children to the same school. And what parents really want to do when they see this is to equalize the wealth of their children. So what happens is that the easiest way to equalize is to give money to those who have less. I'm not saying that that's wrong, but you see, sometimes there are repercussions to doing this. And if we're not careful, we may be, inciting some squabbles among the children. So what is really wrong is if you do not talk about money in a healthy way. So it's not having a lot of money that's bad for the family, but not talking about it openly and in a healthy way. It comes from that belief about money. The reality is that money is an enabler, money is an exaggerator. Let's put it this way, if you're a good person and you have a lot of money, so you have more ways to express your goodness. But if you're a jerk and you have a lot of money, you become a bigger jerk. This is something worth mentioning about families. Alam nyo kasi pag pamilya, di ba, the parents would always want their children to be more or less on equal footing. Myth number 7, there are personality types that cannot get rich. Don't we always hear some people say, ay ako yung taong hindi talaga yayaman, or ako ayoko naman talagang yumaman. But come to think of it, are there really people who honestly don't want to be rich? Yes, sometimes it's possible that the trappings of abundance is there. We hear of stories of the poor little rich girl or the poor little rich boy, but was it really the wealth that put them in that situation? And then if we think of those people who always declare na ayoko naman maging mayaman or hindi ako yung type na yayaman, it's possible that either they're scared or they're lazy. They don't want to put in the work, or they're afraid that they will fail if they aspire to be wealthy. So instead of having to face the failure, they will just label themselves as those people who don't really want to be rich. Naku, alam nyo, okay lang yan. Basta hindi sila mamemerwisyo at uutang sa inyo pag nawalan sila ng pera, di ba? You know, sometimes they are also afraid of the consequences of being wealthy. I have a friend who employs really the low-income sector of the economy, and he notices that when somebody tries to rise out of poverty, he sort of feels guilty. And you know why? Kasi pakiramdam niya parang he's betraying his poorer relatives, his poorer neighbors. Parang tinatanggal niya yung sarili niya from them, and he feels like he is leaving them. So, tignan natin ano ba talaga ang dahilan kung bakit ayaw mong yumaman. So the truth is, it's not really the personality type that prevents you from being rich, but it's the mindset again. and some deep-seated issues in us that are the real obstacles to being rich. Let's summarize the myths. Myth number 1. Parents who don't know much about money cannot teach their children about FQ. Myth number 2. One has to be a math genius to have high FQ. Myth number 3. Raising children to have high FQ is more difficult among the poor. Myth number 4. Raising children to have high FQ is more difficult among the rich. Myth number 5. Exposing our children to money early will make them materialistic. Myth number 6. Having a lot of money is not good for the family. And myth number 7. There are personality types that cannot become rich. There you go. So I hope you can check your own money beliefs now and get rid of those which are myths that are just serving as obstacles from you having a high FQ and having a great financial condition. If you want to know where you stand, please take the FQ test and get your FQ score by clicking on the link provided below. Join us again for another episode of the In Life Shiro's FQ video series. This is FQ Mom Rose Fres Fausto wishing you all a high FQ.